Hello, I'm Markee Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and this is another video in the series of entrepreneurialism. And this one we're definitely going to talk about video game stuff. This is another question from Phil, who is a pretty new entrepreneur. He can't stand working a 9-to-5 job. And he asked some really great questions. Now that he's been self-employed for about a year, he really has a good knowledge of the struggles of an entrepreneur. And so he says here, as an entrepreneur, looking back in retrospect, do you wish you could have done anything differently? All the time. What are some of the best and favorite memories of being an entrepreneur and the worst and most unfortunate things? Oh my God. So, let's see here. Let me pick this apart as, take it into multiple parts because I think there's a lot to say here. So, is there anything I wish I could have done differently? Okay, well, there is a lot I wish I could have done differently. Like, I wish that in my previous companies where I had a lot of success, that I didn't blow a lot of the money on things that were, not necessary. Previously I had, I had this Hummer, which was about, $80,000 for it. And then I put a lift on it, which cost me another $20 with the lift and the tires and everything. So it was almost a $100,000 vehicle. And what happened to it? Well, when basically circumstances dictated that I no longer owned the company that I had, I kind of lost everything, including the car. And, there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of, money that I just spent really freely that, looking back, I don't know where it went. It wasn't like, I just spent a lot of stuff on vacation stuff and on buying all the latest and greatest toys and stuff, which I really enjoy that. Those are kind of tangible. And I'm so looking forward. I'm so glad I bought the Oya. Can't wait till I got that. But that wasn't a very expensive toy. That was $100. So, I wish that I'd managed my money better. And that is something that would have helped now when I'm starting over, because basically I lost control of my old company through divorce. And so that wasn't necessarily a failure of the company, but it's a failure in the respect that this thing that I had been building that I no longer have available to me. And so, in that respect, a prenup would have been really nice, but, that's all hindsight. That's all 2020. So let's see here. I would have put a lot of money into retirement that could not be touched by something like bankruptcy. My very first company that I started, we were very successful, but I didn't know how to manage money. And that's always been my issue, is not knowing how to manage money. I've always, nowadays I have to bring on a partner to help with that because I know that I'm good at making it. I'm not good at, and I'm great at spending it, unfortunately. I'm not good at managing it. And so I know as an entrepreneur what I'm good at and what I'm not, and that is one of the things that I am not good at. And so I wish that I had taken advantage of all of the different retirement things that I could fund, while being an entrepreneur. And there are several. And because the reason is because those can't be touched by a bankruptcy. And entrepreneurs are very susceptible to bankruptcy. My very first company, even though it was wildly successful and everything, I didn't manage the money well, we blew up and we went bankrupt. And so if I had put money into retirement and everything at that point, then that money would still be there for when I become retirement age. I'm only 41 right now, so I have a lot more years to go before I get to a point to where, you know, I'm considered of retirement age, which I think now is what, 67 or 69 for somebody my age. I mean, it just keeps going up. I remember my grandparents retired at 50 and 55. I mean, my God. But that was a different time, wasn't it? So, you know, if that's the number one advice I have for somebody who is experiencing success, that's it. Put as much money as you can into things that will survive a bankruptcy, because businesses go bankrupt. And, you know, so, and I still have a lot of exposure from my, my previous company. And, you know, because I was personal guarantor on a lot of things, even though I have zero ownership in it now, I have zero control over it, I still have an enormous amount of money exposure if they were to, let's say they went under. You know, and I'm not saying that they are or anything, it's just, let's pretend that they went under. What would happen to me? Well, I can tell you what would happen to me. What would happen to me is I would be sued. I'd be sued for a lot of money. And so, and it would probably be like, if I got sued today, what would I have to do? You know, is that amount of money that I would be sued for, is that something that I could just pay off over time and everything? And when you get into big business stuff, unfortunately, no, I would have to do bankruptcy again. I don't want to do bankruptcy, but I would have to if I got tagged with all of that, because I just don't have enough income coming in right now since I started over. And but if I had retirement stuff, then that would survive any of that. And I would know that no matter what, that can't be taken away from me. And so that later on, when I'm of greater age and I really can't physically work as much, or I'm ready to take it much slower, I would have that income available for me. As it is right now, I had planned on building that company up so big and then, you know, one day selling it. Or, you know, if it morphed into something that I maybe didn't expect, that maybe my kids would take it over and I would just keep getting dividends for the rest of my life on it, or something like that. But things don't always work out that way. So my number one piece of advice with money when you become successful is to put absolutely as much as you can into safe retirement investments. I wish I had done that, and as soon as I get to a point to where I'm profitable now, because I'm starting all over again, as soon as I get to a point where I'm profitable now, I will be putting as much as I can afford to into retirement. So that way I don't have to stress so much about it later. I mean, can you imagine, you know, I'm sure you've heard of people who, you know, that whatever happens to their retirement and they're 70 years old and they're all of a sudden finding themselves going to work again. You know, just think about the next time you go in to Walmart and you see the greeter at the door. They're not always old or older people, but they're people who you can tell have had a very long work history, and I think most of them are over retirement age, and they're perfect people for being a greeter. You know, it's not a high impact job on their body. They have to be able to stand, but it's not a high impact job. They're not stocking shelves, or they're not, you know, having to be super duper quick at the cash register or stuff like that. So it's a perfect job for them. But can you imagine being 70, 75 years old, something like that, and you know, then having to go to work again? Can you imagine the job interviews and even getting a job? I mean, come on, really? Or can you imagine having to live off the government for that? Not me. Okay, so what is my best or most favorite memories of being an entrepreneur? You know, I consider myself to be an empire builder. And I have built a few empires. And, you know, that to me is what I really like to do. And so an empire builder is a particular type of entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I also build empires. And So a serial entrepreneur is somebody who starts multiple businesses and everything, and has multiple things going on all at the same time, and then may sell them off or turn them over or whatever. And I'm always trying for the next new thing. And then as an empire building, I tend to try and dominate a particular market. So, when I started my game code sales at Shattered Crystal, when I still had that, and nowadays though, when I mention Shattered Crystal, I'm not encouraging you to go there and buy. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'd prefer though that you went to markeedragon.com, which there's a link in the description, and bought the product from me. So basically I was very proud of what I built there. The company that we built was really great, and in the last few years that I was there, it was doing really well, and I was very, very proud of it. I never imagined that I would lose control of it. I never imagined I would get divorced. And so basically I was very proud of that. Now, so I was also very proud of my computer store that I built. I just started buying memory from a local memory manufacturer. They had factory seconds. They passed all of the physical tests of stuff, of how the data worked in them and everything, but the solder joints might have looked ugly, or the screen printing on it got smeared or something like that, and so it wasn't a polished looking product. And so I used to buy these memory chips from them at about 25% of what they went for retail. And so then I would triple my money by selling them at like 75% of what retail was, and I'd sell them on Craigslist. And that kind of got me started in the computer store. I can't tell you how much memory I sold buying that stuff. I mean, it was really, really great money. And that funded a computer store. I quit a government job. I worked for TriMet in Portland, Oregon, and I was a bus driver. And bus driver kind of fits my mentality. I like to be a leader. I like to work on my own. And even though you're around a whole bunch of people, you still are your captain of your ship, let's say. And I drove bus for about 4 years. But I decided finally to go out on my own and build a computer company. And I did that, and it became wildly successful. In fact, we were doing, and this is back in the early 90s, I remember that we were doing $75,000 worth of computer sales per week. And we were monitoring it per week and everything. And the success was so good that we had, my competition was calling and complaining. I kid you not. My competition was calling me and telling me how dirty and nasty I was and how much they hated me. And one of them, get this, one of them even called and left on voicemail saying that if I didn't take down those advertisements that were just hurting them so bad, we used to take these full-page ads out, 2-page ads in a local computer magazine, and we had lines of people. We'd open at 8 a.m. and we'd have a line of people out there waiting to get into our store. It was just incredibly successful. I wish that it was like a tiger and I didn't know how to hold on to the tail, or I didn't know how to tame it. I was not experienced enough. I was in my early 20s and I had this just wild success. I really wish that I had somebody who was a business partner at that point that had, that maybe was in their 40s or 50s and had had a lot of experience with this type of stuff, because I really could have used that. In fact, we may still have that company to this day. But getting back to my competition, they said on voicemail, and this was when voicemail was brand new and the phone company started doing that. It was a brand new thing. They said, oh my God, I can't believe this. They said, I'm going to come and firebomb your store if you don't quit running these ads. They really said that. And they said who they were and their phone numbers so that I could call them back and talk to them. I'm like, holy cow, really? You want to firebomb my place? Oh my God, I still get worked up about that. I still can't believe that somebody would do that. And you know what I did? I did not call them back. I called the police and I said, I want you to come and listen to this voicemail. You need to go talk to this person. He says he's going to firebomb my store. And he was another store owner. And so basically we were having a profound impact on the local economy, and that was all due to our marketing. You know, there's a saying, the one with the best marketing wins. And I believe that to be true. And in fact, that's been a belief of mine all along. And that's why you'll see me doing different marketing things. I don't have to have the best product, but I do have to have the best marketing. Now, I also believe at the same point that I have to have the best customer service. Because what happens is when you have the best marketing, you pull the people in. They may buy your product once, but if you have crappy customer service, they never come back. You need to retain them. That is part of the formula for success. Anyway, so the police went and talked to him, and then they said basically that he came to me and apologized and asked for forgiveness and asked that I wouldn't press charges. So anyway, that is one of the things that that I most remember. I was in that business went kaboom because I didn't know how to manage money. And I'm still not a good money manager. I have to get help with that. I recognize that as one of my deficiencies. And so I have to have someone assist with that, with my businesses. I'm great at making it. I'm not great at managing it. And that actually caused, that going kaboom caused my first bankruptcy. And now I haven't had a second, but the average entrepreneur goes bankrupt twice before they hit big success. And I'm not saying I'm planning on another one, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. So now going further down the line, some of the things that I'm most proud of is the business I built around Ultima Online. That was the birth of the game code sales for me, and this is before, we used to sell swords, houses, gold, all kinds of stuff. And we'd sell accounts, and it was not a violation of the terms of service for the game at that point. In fact, they were pointing it out in newspaper articles and stuff. Hey, look at these guys, look at what they're doing. How amazing is that our video game has actual value to some of these things. They were just so amazed about it. And then a few years later, the lawyers got involved, and we got grandfathered in on Ultima Online, but that's a whole other story. But I'm very, very proud of how that all worked out and how that launched me into the industry that I am in now. I definitely believe that the Ultima Series that Richard Garriott created is the reason that I am where I'm at today. I'm not saying Richard actually, helped me get here or whatnot, but that was the inspiration of these magical worlds and everything, and figuring out, hey, you can actually make money outside of these games while you participate in this wonderful game that's so much fun. And so I'm very, very proud of that as well. Now, there's been some big disasters. In fact, if I remember to put in the annotation here, I'll put in an annotation to where I lost $250,000 and where I lost $500,000. I once was doing, we were doing account sales for, we were doing all of the anti-fraud for account sales. It was used for World of Warcraft accounts. We had sold like $290,000 worth of accounts for them in just a little over 3 months. And then Blizzard banned all of them, and everybody wanted their money back. So that was one of my biggest disasters. It's also one of my biggest successes, which is kind of funny, because if you watch the video, which I'll leave these links up so that you can watch it later at the end of this video. That success, there was a success story because of how we mitigated the losses. And I'll let you watch that to see that. Now, the other big loss that I had was when I took about a $500,000 loss on my limousine service. And I go into great detail in that video as well. I'll leave that link up as well. And I'll make them open in new windows so that if you click on them, that it'll take you to that video. You can watch it and then come back and finish this if you want. So those were basically two big disasters. Now, let me think about some other things. You know, I have in the past spent a lot of money on programming and stuff and found that my idea really didn't work. But that is the plight of an entrepreneur. You got to try new things. You got to be innovative and creative. And if, you know, this is how you make the money. It's not by, you know, just working your same thing over and over again. Your company has to change over time. And I guess I'm proud of that as well, is that I have been able to forge the changes in over time since 1997 when I started doing this. Because on the internet, things change so quickly that there are some things that have lasted quite a long time, but there's other things that change every year. You know, it's hot this year, next year it's not, so you have to drop that product to pick up a new one. And that's just how it goes. So basically we built some software things that really flopped. They didn't do well at all. They cost way more to build. You know, in software development in the past, I won't say how much I've spent, but I will say that I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on programming. And that sometimes it worked out really well. Other times it did not. And, but, you know, as you get older or as you get, you know, have more experience with this stuff, you get wiser about it. And that's one of the things with age. And so that's one of the things I appreciate about my age. I mean, I'm still pretty young. I mean, I know I look a lot older because I'm so gray and everything. Everybody in my family went gray early. I'm only 41. And so I know you guys rag on me. Who's this old dude who plays video games? Well, I'm not really that old, you know? And so basically, the number one thing that I have to attribute success to is the no-brainer. And in fact, I'll put in an annotation for that as well, right here. There's a whole playlist on it. The no-brainer is a tool that I have used that really helps me evaluate an idea before I invest a lot of money into it. So I may invest a few hours of time going through the no-brainer with the idea, and it helps me think outside the box. It helps me really identify whether or not there really is a market for that product. Instead of me just thinking about it, it makes me go out and find the facts and do some research. And it's actually something that's a team effort. If you have multiple people in your company, you have a person who's an innovator, a person who's a creator, a person who's an evaluator, and a person who's an action taker. All four of you work together, and you will just blaze through this, and you will know whether or not your product is going to be successful. You can actually have a product that's not successful after doing this if you ignore some of the things along the way. And some people have a tendency to do that. They say, oh, I just know best, you know. They ignore something and that doesn't work. So that has been one of the things I'm most successful on, you know, because that has brought my losses way, way down on stuff. And so that just takes my time instead of, you know, the other thing. And one of the things in the No Brainer Play series is I've been working with Matthew, who's my girlfriend's oldest son. He has been doing a lot of playthrough videos and everything, and so we decided to do a no-brainer on making a living doing those type of videos. And so if you haven't seen that, check it out if you're an entrepreneur. If you're not an entrepreneur, you'll find it boring as all hell. So, you know, there's your fair warning. And I'll leave that annotation up too through the end of the video. So, and in fact, I tell you what, because there's so many things to go see on the end of the video, let's go out with some music. And so I'll leave those annotations up for a little bit, give you some time to look at that and listen to some good hard rock music here for a minute. And that's it. So thank you, Phil, for the question. I'm Markee Dragon. Take care.